Hi, this is Neil from PowerSyncPro, and today we're going to create a PowerSyncPro server using an Azure Marketplace image. We're also going to connect to that PowerSyncPro server one of our Active Directories using PowerSyncPro Remote Sync Agent, and we'll also connect a Windows 11 workstation as well. So PowerSyncPro will be hosted in Azure, but I have an Active Directory called migsource.net, which does not have any internet access, but then I do have another server called PSP Remote, which does have access to the internet. So I'm going to use the remote sync agent on that server to connect to my Active Directory. Once I've set up that connection and imported all of my users' computers, I'm then going to create a connection from a Windows 11 workstation to the same PowerSyncPro server in Azure. I'm going to be using a public SSL cert so that we can connect securely to the server, and you will need to create one of those and supply one of those yourself. I'm not going to be creating any sync profiles or any matching profiles. I'm not going to be creating any translation tables. So there's a lot of work that you will have to do to complete your PowerSyncPro server. I'm just going to show you the functionality of getting the remote sync agent working from your on-premises infrastructure and connecting a migration agent as well. So like I said, first of all, we're going to deploy the server. We're then going to update DNS to point to that public IP, make some network security group changes if they're needed, add the public SSL cert, then I will configure the remote agent and the migration agent as well. So the first place that you'll want to go to is the KB article to be able to review all of the configuration items. That's kb.powersyncpro.com. Have a look at this. Of course, our documentation is a single source of truth here. So have a look at the documentation so you understand the size and the scaling of the server that you need to deploy for your particular setup. This will give you all the different bits of information you need, as well as things like advice that you need to harden the server or domain join it or whatever else you need to do to be able to get that working in your environment. You can search Azure Marketplace using the word PowerSyncPro, but there's also a handy little link here to be able to go straight to the offering. Here is the app here, and then I can click on Get Now and continue, and this will start the process to deploy PowerSyncPro within my Azure infrastructure. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to now create this. I'm going to assign it into my resource group and assign the infrastructure. And when this is actually done, I'm going to come back in a couple of moments to show you the rest of the configuration. So just bear with me one moment. Okay, looks like my VM has now been created. So I'm going to go to that resource and take a look. The first thing I'm going to do is take my public IP here and I'm going to add it onto my Cloudflare. So here is my marketplace entry, and I'm just going to update the DNS entry here to this new deployment. That should save and replicate around the internet. We can see here that I've got a 1077.4.4 local IP address on my virtual network. Let's go and have a look at the network settings. So I've got my gRPC connection here. That is for my remote agent, and what I've done, I've specified port 5001, and I've also specified the IP address of my on-premises infrastructure, the server which has the internet access. So it's only that server that can communicate with this PowerSyncPro server to perform the directory synchronization and the correct IP address there. I've also got port 443 forwarded to my machine and any address there that is for the remote agents, and then you will have your own configuration here as well. So that looks all set up. Let's go and take this IP address and go and have a look at the server. I'll just load up remote desktop connection. Here it is here. Here's my IP. Let's change the size of the display. That looks good there. Okay, I'm connecting to this server for the first time. I need to accept this certificate. And let's take a look. Oh, it's loading up on my different screen. So the very first time this loads, I will need to provide a certificate. So it's marketplace.migsource.net. That's the public SSL cert which I've created dedicated for this machine and this project. You will have your own certificate which you will need to create. Here is my certificate here on screen, and we're just going to wait for the server to load and see that come up. So let's just copy this certificate here and just wait for the server to finish loading. The very first time the server loads up, you'll be presented with the temp directory and this prompt here. I'm now going to paste my PFX into this directory and click OK. It's just going to ask me, have I copied my PFX? I'm going to go yes. And then it's going to ask me for my password for that certificate. It will then go off and do some configuration. It will bind the certificate into IIS port 443. It will update the app settings for Kestrel, for gRPC connections, as well as update the web config file, and then it will ask to restart the machine. So I'm just going to allow that to restart, and I'll just come back the moment it's returned. Okay, the server's just loading up. Doesn't take long to reboot these Azure servers. And what I'm now going to do is go to PSP configuration. Here is a handy icon here, and that will load Edge for the very first time. So you will get the normal prompts to sign into the various areas. I'm just going to scan through those, and PSP is instantly loaded there as well. So I'm just going to put in the default username and password, admin123QWE. You will need to change this yourself by going up to the global settings up here and go users. Fantastic, we're into PSP. Let's have a look at this. So the first thing we're going to do is to configure the remote agent to connect to my Active Directory. So to do that, I need to create a pre-shared key. So I'm going to go create, and I'm going to do a sync agent. My domain name is migsource.net, and my computer name is PSP remote. That one-time pre-shared key is created, so I can only use that once and then it will disappear. Let's go to certificates and create a certificate as well. The next thing I need to do, this server is only configured really for migration agent. So I do need to come into the firewall. Let me just go to the firewall when that comes up. And I need to allow port 5001 to come in for gRPC. So port 443 is already allowed, but I'm just going to, because I'm doing a special configuration here for the demo, I'm just going to allow 443 and 5001 as well. So just click apply on there. Okay, so that's this server ready for communication. Let's go to my on-premises server here. I'll close down some of these windows. Now this on-premises server, I have my installation here, the binaries in the downloads, and I'm just going to run those. It's going to ask for the pre-shared key straight away. So let's go and get that from Azure. Copy that. And then it's going to ask for the endpoint. So I'm going to my SSL cert, marketplace.migsource.net, port 5001, which I opened up in my network security group, as well as the firewall on the machine itself. Click next. Now, I can use a AD service account if I wish, or a group managed service account. Just for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to do local system, click next and install. What will happen now is this will install the agent and attempt to register with the PowerSyncPro server. So I'm just going to keep the run configuration and go finish, and you can see the configuration in the background. Let's take a look at the server now. Remote agents. Fantastic, here it is. It's come into here. It's attempted to register. And now, as an additional security measure, so we've got the pre-shared key, we've got the SSL and our own certificate, as well as the connection to here. We are also having to approve the connectivity of that server. So let's do that and go yes. This server is now approved, and that pre-shared key would have disappeared. What I'm now going to do is come here and add my AD. I have my Fabricam server here. Then I'm going to do psp.srv. This is an authorized account that I've created in advance. I'm just going to go test connection. Okay, great. Connected to mixsource.net. Go OK, save and exit. This server is now acting as the conduit to connect to Active Directory. This server has internet access. My Active Directory DC did not. If I come back to directories on the PowerSyncPro server, I can then go create and go Active Directory. I'm going to mig source, give it a suitable name. I can select my sync agent server. It's this one here, and we've registered this particular domain on that server. I then want to import users and computers. On this particular demo that I'm doing, you will need to choose yourself. Certainly, if you're migrating users from this domain, or your computers are joined to this particular domain, you'll need both of those, and I'm just going to go save. That will now communicate with my remote agent server here to verify the connection, to ensure it has suitable permissions to Active Directory and everything else. Doesn't take too long. Let's give that a moment. There we go. And just to prove that it's actually getting the objects, I'm just going to go import objects here to import everything. You wouldn't normally have to do this. You would create a sync profile. You would create a matching profile if you're doing workstations. But this is just to prove that I'm importing all my users and computers. And look, that happened very, very quickly. We have 517. So that's our sync agent done, essentially. Yes, like I said, typically you would create a target directory. You might create a target AD or an entry, and then you would create a sync profile. But I'm not running you through any of those things today. Right, let's go and set up a migration agent. In a similar way, I need to create a pre-shared key. That pre-shared key you can use in your deployment. It will be the pre-shared key that is used for your entire estate. And I also need to create a certificate as well. Now I'm going to go to my workstation, which is where this presentation was. I have the binaries on the desktop here. And I'm just going to find the pre-shared key for migration agent now. It's this one here. Some additional characters on the end there. And now I'm going to provide the 443 endpoint. So I need to take off 5001 and just do my marketplace.mixsource.net/agent for the workstation side of things to register. So I'm just going to go next. This user here doesn't have administrative privileges, so it will pop up and ask me for those. It takes a couple of seconds. There it is. Okay, and now the migration agent will install. Because I imported those computer objects, I will be able to register this migration agent. That's one of the requirements, that this device is connected to the Active Directory where you are importing your users and computers. So now I should be able to return to my PowerSyncPro server, go down to agents, and there it is. It's just registered a moment ago. Like I said before, I'm just showing you the quick functionality of deploying a Azure Marketplace PowerSyncPro server. So there's lots more for you to do with runbooks and batches and sync profiles. And obviously one of the most critical things is creating your translation table so you can match users between the source and the target environment. But as you can see, deploying a PowerSyncPro server is very quick and easy. Thanks for your time.